Hey, what is up, everybody? Here we are live. We are live on a Tuesday morning. I got my friend Josh. Let me point the right direction. That way. Yes, I'm always pointing the wrong way, man. I always get it backwards.
Yeah, it's
But I
back.
got my friend Josh here with me, and we are going to hang out with you for the next 45 minutes or an hour and just talk all things laser. So we're going to have a good time. As you guys are getting the notification that we're live, jump on in here with us and let us know in the chat that you're here. Make sure that you click the link in my post that gives StreamYard the ability to see your name so that I know who you are. Otherwise, me and Josh are going to see you as Facebook user, sorry, we just won't know who you are. But say hi in the chat to your right, I think, and let us know that you're here and maybe where you're watching from, maybe what your weather's like. I know for me, man, it is freaking gorgeous here right now. I think it's maybe 60 right now. What's it like where you're at, Josh? What's the weather like?
It's been kind of cold lately, around 50s to 60s. So.
Yeah. Does it peak like 80 something or other during the day, or what does it peak?
Right now it's been about 64 around that area, so it's been kind of cold lately.
I love that, but I know everybody's wired different. I walk outside and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I was camping, but that's not happening. But yeah, man, it's been really nice. I know the yesterday I think it was in the middle 80s high, but when I got up this morning, I think it was 50, which is great. So loving it, man. It was awesome. Got a bunch of people with us already. This is excellent. I want to say hi to a whole bunch of people. Sue, Roycroft, good to see you. Jerry, good to see you. Matt, Morgan, we got a lot of folks up. I'm trying to remember where everybody's at. So some of them are up really early, depending on what part of the country they're in. Music Chick Art, what are you doing, my friend? Robin, good to see you. Cindy, Matt, you said Memphis is 70 right now. That's great. What's up we got somebody watching from Alaska. That's fantastic. Good to see you. Let me see, what time would it? I don't know my time zones. What time is it in Alaska? Is that Pacific time? I guess.
I have no idea.
I'm not sure. Educate us.
Probably have.
If you're from Alaska, yeah, tell us what time it is. Hey, what's up, Laura from Manford, Oklahoma, just a little bit south of me, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Good to see you. Will Louie in the house, my friend from Sacramento. Awesome. Will is going to be here in the Tulsa area with me this weekend, doing a couple Oklahoma hangouts. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Sharon from down the road from me. Good to see you, my friend. Christy, good to see you as well. Josh Furman. Josh, I have not seen you in forever, dude.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, Josh, man, that he's a great designer too. So that's an honor to have him here. Josh,
we love me and him actually did a collaboration project together too.
That's cool. Man, you get great talented guy there. I'm glad you're here, Josh. Marilyn, good to see you, Marilyn. Man, there's a lot of good people here. This is great. Robin says it's 57 and she wishes she was camping as well. She slept with the windows open. That sounds amazing. I got to be honest, I was telling Josh right before we went live this morning that I was kind of dying with a lot of congestion, which I still am right now. So, we're all friends here. So if I got to take a tissue break, sorry about that. But yeah, this is going to be good. Let me see. We got North Carolina 48. Yeah. Heather Kaufman, Kimber, good to see you. Nora, good to see you. Joe Anderson, what is up, man? This is great. We got a great crowd here. Is it because we got the right time in the morning? Is it because Josh is here? That's probably the reason. Probably because Josh is here. Right? That's probably my mistake has been just doing it with myself, and that's nobody cares about that. So now I know that Josh is the key to success. We'll have Josh on more often. This is great. We got over 50 people here already. So that's fantastic. All right. Well, tell you what, guys, we're going to get started here. Look, me and Josh we'll shoot the breeze for another 2 minutes or so, and then we'll start jumping into some content. If you guys would like to learn something or you'd like to hear something from Josh or myself this morning, throw it in the chat. Let us know if you got some questions you think we might be able to answer. We would love to help with that. If you guys don't know Josh, I'll have him introduce himself in just a minute. But if you don't know him, he's got some great tutorials, which we'll talk about. If you're new to your laser, he can probably help you. He's got some excellent designs. He and I have talked over, how many times have we said this? I don't know how many years we've known each other, in
I
the
don't know,
groups? Is it
like
maybe
5, 6
4,
years.
5, 6? Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. We were both kind of there early on, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been good, man. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest compliments I know I can give him is every time he makes something, I look at it, I think two things. I go, dang it, why didn't I make that? And then that I hope this is complimentary to you. Your style, our styles are not that dissimilar. We like a lot of the same things. And so when you make stuff, I go, man, I wish I had made that. And if I had made it, that's the way I would have done it. So
Yeah.
that happens a lot.
I
You
thought
got a
that
whole bunch of storage things that I love, and I look at them and I go, okay, I've got to think of a different way to make that now.
I thought that same thing of your church that you just made. I've been
Yeah,
wanting
yeah.
church forever. So
Well, of course, I'll say to you what I know you'd say to me is go ahead and make one because yours will end up being different. So it
yeah.
doesn't really matter. But I have a great admiration and respect for Josh. So I'm glad he's here with me again. So this is going to be really good. We got somebody from the UK here. Good to see you. What time is it over in the UK? I don't know. Love to hear from you. Lisa from Arizona. This is great. Jerry says, look at that puzzle grow. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm going to be jumping in here in the next couple of days, hopefully. I've been a little bit both under the weather and also just snowed under. Oh, I wish I was snowed under. I love snow. I'm buried in some jobs, but I definitely want to participate too. So we're going to have Josh talk to us about that. Victor Haven's in the house. What is up, Victor? Another person we really respect a lot and appreciate him. That's great. Sharon from Michigan. Go blue? Maybe? I don't know. Go green? I'm not sure. Either one, as long as it's not Ohio State, right? I'm just kidding. We love everybody. What is up, Nicholas? Good to see you, my friend. Glad you're here. This is great. Well, tell you what, Josh, let's just start talking real quick for just a couple minutes about who you are for people who don't know you. Why don't you start by telling people how you got started with a laser, kind of when that was, what laser that was, because not everybody knows that about you. And I'll jump in and ask some questions, but how did you get started with lasers and kind of tell us the Reader's Digest version of how you got from there to here? And we'll let people kind of hear your story.
Yeah, for sure. So if you haven't heard, I'm Josh from Fresh Start Customs. He just perfectly timed that. But anyways, I started with the lasers all the way back on probably junior high in high school. So I was introduced to like an epilogue laser in our ag class or Future Farmers of America class. I'm from a really small town, so don't judge me.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so ever since then, I kind of fell in love with it, made like 2 designs in high school with it. And then after that, kind of forgot about it for a while, ended up getting like a K40 laser for like $300 on eBay. I know I probably shouldn't have done it that way, but that was super hard to tinker with because you always had to adjust the mirrors all the time. So Glowforge is way easier than those things. So don't recommend a K40 unless you want to tinker with stuff. But you can make those things real beefy. You can like add different power supplies and all sorts of cool stuff with it. But wouldn't want a K40. But anyways, then I seen the Glowforge, and after that, I just I don't know. I think I was like 21 or 22 at the time when it first came out. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it because I just bought my house at that time. And then I was like, I'm just going to put the money down and then just go from there. So I was super nervous the whole time.
When was that? Was that the pre-buy, or when was that for you?
That was like whenever the pre-purchase for Kickstarter, or well, it wasn't Kickstarter because they did their own campaign, but
Right. So back in 2015 then, right?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Because we did it at the same time or within a month or so of each other, I think.
Yeah, I think you did it before me, and then I was like kind of hesitant at the start, and then I was like, I'm gonna jump in before anything. And then I thought it was going to be like 6 months, and then it ended up being like 3 years. So.
Right. Well, if I don't know if you remember this. So I think you were like in November of 2015, I think, and I was in October. So just a few weeks ahead of you, something like that. And they said, oh, yeah, this is going to come out in December.
Yeah.
Well, it did 2 years later. It was December. It was just 2017. So that was a long time. What did you think during those 2 years? Were you like me kind of thinking, oh, I'm going to bail, or what
Oh
was
yeah,
your thought?
there's plenty of times that I wanted to, but I was like, I'm okay right now. I'm just gonna let it ride. And then
Right.
there was a
Right.
lot of people who were telling me I was gonna get scammed out of it, so I was pretty nervous. But
Yeah.
luckily, I did it because it changed my life in a good way.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That's cool. Talk about your design side of things. So I guess when you had the K40, were you using Illustrator at the time, or where did you start?
So the K40 came with a laser program called like Laser Draw. It was a terrible program.
Okay.
It came in Chinese actually, so I had to like translate it all because
Yeah.
it came from eBay. So but yeah, I translated it, got it back into English, and then it was basically just real basic stuff. And then it took like 6 hours to do an engraving like this big. It was terrible, but it was the most fun I ever had because I had my own laser and was tinkering with it. So yeah, it was pretty fun.
That's cool. And did you then? When did you pick up Illustrator? And are you self-taught? How did you get there?
Yeah, so in high school, I took like two like college level classes in high school. It's called like TriStar. If you went and pursued the same avenue, they gave you like credits towards it. But I ended up going in a different direction. But anyways, we did Photoshop back then a lot, and then I kind of applied Photoshop to Illustrator, and it was pretty easy to kind of correlate the two together and go from there. So it was all self-taught with YouTube.
Yep. You and me both, YouTube University, and poking around until you figure it out, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I often wonder. I think a lot of designers are like me. I know there are people like we all respect Daryl Aspen quite a bit. Daryl, if you're out there, we love you, man, and you are so good at what you do. But there are a lot of people like me who I learned a little corner of Illustrator, right? And I learned enough to do what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
there's so many other tools I don't even know, but I know the ones that I need or currently need. And then all the time, so, there's 5 different ways to do something, right? There's
Yeah.
so many different ways to do the same thing. So I'm always learning, always, always.
Yeah, I'm still learning like new features every day. There's so much in it.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
it is. It's humbling, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But we love it. But we love it a lot. I know we both do. So kind of fast forward. So you got your Glowforge, and what did your beginning look like when you first got it? What did you start making? What did your path look like from getting a Glowforge to the designer that you are today? What did that look like for the time the Glowforge hit your front porch to now? What did that look like?
Yeah, so basically I knew I just wanted to record it the whole thing. So basically from the time that I got it, I started my YouTube channel and it was basically all for the fun of it.
Yeah,
Even Fresh Start Customs was just something to have fun with.
yeah,
So I did like the unpackaging video, my terrible non-knowledge on kerf where my first project was like a little dice that would not hold together because I
yeah.
knew nothing about kerf at the time. So yeah, it's progressed quite a bit. I mean, I now I feel pretty confident on making some pretty difficult designs, but there's still stuff that I don't know how to do. So
Oh, me too. Me too. And then, if we ever need help, we just call Victor, right? Because
yeah,
Victor knows.
Victor
Yeah.
or Nick. Nick knows a
Oh,
lot too.
those guys, man, we both think the world of both of you guys. You're amazing. So thank you for being here at all, um, for sure. So tell me more about that, though. So you got your Glowforge. When did you realize that you wanted to start being a file designer? What did that look like? Was that your plan from the start? How did that look for you?
I was doing it all pure on hobby until people started asking for the files to it. And then I started that secondary group, which was called like Name Your Own Price Files or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. So basically, with that, I just did it by PayPal. Someone would say, "Hey, I want that file," and then they would just give me a price, like $1 was the minimum, or
Yeah.
$5, or whatever they wanted to pay at the time. And then I would just do it through PayPal. And then it just kind of progressed from there because people didn't like waiting on like emails to send it back and forth and PayPal
Right. Right.
transactions. So then I had to make up my own prices for it and based it off of that and went from there.
Yep. 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 That's fun. right?
Yeah.
That's a learning curve. That sometimes it's easy for anyone to look from where you are and kind of forget the path that you took to get there. You
Yeah.
know, I don't think Josh or myself, neither one of us would consider ourselves experts on much of anything. We're just kind of, what is it? I just lost the phrase, master of none. Whatever.
Oh, jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, right? So we've spent a little time in Illustrator and we start making stuff. If you guys have not checked it out, take the time, bookmark freshstartcustoms.com. You can also find him on Etsy as well. So either place. But he makes some great stuff. And I will tell you my personal favorite, and I'll let you tell us your favorite if it's different. I'm kind of split. Probably my number one favorite thing that you make are the gamer stands. I love those. Tell us how you started with those. I guess because you're a gamer yourself, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so the gamer stands, I guess I don't really even remember what started them, but I just thought they were a cool idea. I had my Xbox controllers just laying there on one of those pre-built chargers, and I was like,
Yep.
I can make my own charger look super cool. And then it just even progressed. Like I have one here where I made like the wall mount one that just kind of mounts on the wall like that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah, we see it. Yeah.
The wall. But yeah. So yeah, I got all sorts of gaming stands, and then it progressed to stuff that I didn't have. Like I don't have a PlayStation 5 or I didn't have a Switch at the time or an Oculus stand. And then everybody was asking for these things. So I had to reach out to people who had them to test the files and work with them.
Yeah. Right.
So now we have all those different types. I'd say probably my favorite, just because I put a lot of time into it and I have a passion about computers, was that supercomputer that I made.
Yes. I'm gonna find it here for us and take a look at it. Let me see.
And then
so
the other one that I kind of like is I can show you. I got with me too.
you see here the supercomputer. Sorry, I am surfing your site now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That trolley car was pretty fun too.
Oh, the trolley car is super cool. Yeah, this one right here. Let's see
Yeah.
if I can show everybody this one. Yeah, this one is very cool. In fact, I will tell you once again, one of the many compliments I can give you is that I've got a couple of people that work with me in my office every day, and when they go, ooh, they both went, ooh, at the trolley car for sure. And I think Josh actually, Josh, also known as Tyler, commented on yours and told you he was really impressed with it. It's really very cool.
Yeah, I actually redesigned that like 3 times to make it like as little wood as possible, because the all the way down where the foot pegs are, even the wheels are all attached all the way up to the very top layer where it says freshstartcustoms.com.
Yeah.
And then a secondary step up from there. So that was kind of complicated to figure out how to get it all working.
No joke. In fact, we talked about this offline here. I'll just jump in and let's talk about it now. The process of designing. In fact, Victor, I'd love to hear from you as well in the chat there, if you would kind of agree with us, and Joshua too, anybody else that's a designer in the chat there. The process of designing things, of course, it includes a lot of parts that we all would recognize, like, we're designing the actual item. But once you get done with the initial item, and by the way, how many iterations it goes through, right? I have this joke that a lot of people have heard me say, is that I dodged a bullet. I almost got that design right the first time, but thankfully I didn't. That's my joke, because I never get anything right the first time. I don't know how often you do. Do you get them right the first time a lot?
Luckily, I can get it right the first time a lot, and that's only because I use the same slots and tabs for a lot of my projects.
Yeah, well, that's smart, man.
That helps some stuff. So,
well, and I'll do stupid stuff. Like if I've got, I don't know, if I've got 2 things going together like this, in the file, I don't realize that I've done this instead of that. And so I'll cut it and I'll go, oh, and I'll
I've
have to go
done
back
plenty of wrong stuff to like that too.
Oh, but
speaking of which, I got the this little beer koozie holder thing.
Yeah.
When I first made it, it works great if you pull it down like this, and it pulls out with this stand. but that way it's removable. But I had to make a secondary version that had like a bottom that came in and you screwed into the wall so it wouldn't remove from the wall. So there's 2 versions that come with that thing.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, you always learn something whenever you're testing and
You do, and not necessarily what you wanted to learn, but
yeah.
right. But we were talking about right before we started, we were talking about all the work that goes in after the file is kind of done, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the steps that you do after the initial file is done? Talk about that, and I'll share mine too. What are some of the things you do after the initial file is done?
So obviously you got the cutting, which it helps too with people who want to actually like test them out and stuff too. But then you have like the instructions, and then if you do 3D instructions, which I think you learned last night too, was
I did.
that is a whole nother like hours worth of time.
Yep.
And then you got the photos to take, the actual editing of the photos. If you have to, like, if you have a piece of, like, let's say there was paint on the wall, you would Photoshop that paint off or something.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. There's all, and then you have to list the photos. You have to list it on your second site.
Write the descriptions. Yeah.
Write the descriptions, SEO. There's all
Yep.
sorts of stuff, but it probably takes like 4 hours per design just to print it, make it, design it, list it, instruction, all that stuff.
Well, I'll tell you a real thing that happened. A couple of real things that happened to me yesterday. So I started getting all this congestion and everything, so I couldn't talk. And every time I started a video, in the middle of it, I had to, blow my nose. And of course, I've left a couple of my my outtakes or my bloopers in some of my videos for those of you guys who've seen them. But I figured that was not a blooper anybody wanted to hear or see. So there's life that just comes in like that. But I was. I've done a couple things. I don't know if you've ever done this. If you do a video or anything, this might be an example. So I'll have a piece like this, and I won't have looked in the camera first. So I need to hold it like this, but I've shot the entire video like this.
Yeah.
Not realizing that nobody can see it. And, you shoot a video, and then you start editing and go, oh, freaky crap.
Yeah.
It is all out of the frame, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so dumb. And the thing I did yesterday, you talked about that church. I dropped it yesterday.
Oh man.
And it shattered. I mean, pieces everywhere. And I was getting ready to shoot a video for it, and I broke it. So fortunately, one of my friends is putting it back together for me, but that happens. So sickness and dropping stuff and being out of frames. What are some of the goofy things that have happened to you? Anything that jumps to your mind?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I didn't even talk about the YouTube side of it. Like, just editing a video can take like an hour or more, but shooting the videos, the top down views,
yes,
you can't really see it. You just hit record and then you go with it. And like you said, I have like a project over here off frame, and then I'm like, after a 40-minute recording, I'm like, oh, I got to do this all over again.
Oh, yeah, I know. All the wordy dirds, man, all the angry words, like, oh my gosh, that is so frustrating. The only thing that I've learned to do on that, and maybe you have too, is I've learned to just shoot much wider than I really need. And so I'll pick up things off the screen that I don't really need, but then that way I can crop in, and I'm not likely to be out of the frame anymore.
Yeah.
But you're right about if depending on the angle.
Yeah.
You're standing up and looking down over the top, like, oh.
Yeah, because you can't see the screen while you're working on it.
And of course, we don't have all the cool high dollar setups, where you've got secondary monitors and, someday, right? But it's usually our phone, right?
Yeah.
And some of the guys I watch on YouTube, they got the great, amazing DSLR cameras, and all the set and everything in multiple angles. And I'm like, oh, someday.
Yeah.
But right now,
I do have a DSLR camera, and that's what some of my first videos were shot on. But just getting it out and then getting all the equipment for it just gets a lot of work. So the phones work just as nice with how great they've progressed from now.
I finally I'm super late to the good ideas sometimes. My wife is upgrading her phone like today. And so we actually paid her phone off. So we own it. So Big Blue Laser Designs is going to inherit her phone, her old one. And so we're going to use it as a secondary camera. So that might be exciting. Maybe it won't. I'm not really sure. We'll see. But that's real. That's real stuff, man. it's a lot of work to make them. We're not looking for pity, of course. We love what we do, but it just the behind the scenes stuff. It's a bunch of work. And I know you and I are wired the same. We're always trying to get better, right? We're always trying to do better than we did last month or last year. And part of getting better involves time. So like doing the 3D things that I'm teaching myself how to do, that's time consuming, right?
Yeah.
Like I think you've got a gaming computer that you use, right? Is that what you have?
Yeah, I have a gaming computer and a gaming laptop, and I just design with those.
Right, but those are beefy. I mean, they got some good amount of RAM and some good processor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you do those 3D things, it can task a cheap computer, right?
Yeah, even my big one, whenever I get those 3D instructions, like if you have like 4 or 5 of those on the screen, it'll just like freeze up Illustrator for a little bit and then it'll process. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Hey, I just want to comment on Brian said this. He said, because Brian, I agree with you 100%. He said, still being new at this, I understand dodging the bullet by getting it right the first time. I've learned a lot from the mistakes I've made, but I also watch a lot of the community videos to learn from you guys, learning sessions. Thanks for all you guys do. You're so welcome, Brian. I can speak for both of us. We love when we hear that something we did help somebody, because really, I know I can speak for Josh that we do this as part of our living, of course, but we really get a lot of great satisfaction out of hearing that we help somebody, right?
Yeah.
That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Speaking of helping people, in fact, I want to talk about the pointing the wrong way again, the project here by your head here in just a second. But before we do that, Josh has got a bunch of tutorials on his YouTube channel. If you were to pick one or two that are kind of your favorites or the ones that people use the most, what are a couple of those tutorials that are most popular or that you're most proud of?
Probably I have an actual playlist called Glowforge to the Point. You can, it's like a start to finish episode 1 through 11, I believe. So if you're brand new to like laser engraving, that'll teach you pretty much everything that I know up to your first design. So like the basics of how to upload for the starting point, and then you learn about kerf and then how to actually make a design like a 3D slotted stand. So that playlist would probably be a good one. And then I just posted like my 3 best tips on like masking. That one's pretty popular. It seems like that one's taken off pretty good, and a lot of people like that. So
excellent. Yeah. So your Fresh Start Customs on YouTube as well, correct?
Yep.
Perfect. So you guys look for that. Subscribe to his channel. And by the way, 2 things. Subscribe to his channel because you want to make sure you don't miss any content. So that's one thing. But it also helps him out a lot when you subscribe. It helps me out a lot when you guys subscribe. So subscribe, hit the like button, leave us comments. We really appreciate that a lot because we do all this for free, which is great. But it also helps us when you subscribe and like things. So do that as much as you can. We'd really appreciate it. So here's a question. Charlene asks if we both use just Glowforge lasers. I believe you've got 2. How many do you have?
I have 2 basics and a pro, so I got 3 Glowforges. Yep. And I used to have that K40, but I sold that whenever, like shortly after I got my Glowforge, just because I didn't want to tinker with it anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So yes, so Josh has 3 Glowforges. I also have 3. I've got all 3 versions. I got a Pro, a Plus, and a Basic, and I use all of them pretty much interchangeably all the time. So I don't use one more than the other. And then I also have a Mira 9. So I'm using Lightburn and Illustrator because I know Charlene is, I think you're asking that. And I know that Eric Schultz is also talking about learning kerf in Lightburn. Let me pause real quick and tell you, Eric, I can definitely help you with that. Kerf in Lightburn isn't any different than kerf in any other program. It's your laser that affects the kerf, not your vector program, right, Josh?
Yeah.
So
yep. So basically, so if your laser beam is like wider, and I think there's even like different lenses you can get for like non-Glowforge related lasers. So
that's right.
And then that will change like the width of your beam, and that's what's going to cause your kerf. And then you just need to find out like how much your laser evaporates around your cut, and that's your kerf.
Right. And let me say this, guys. Josh has videos on kerf. I highly encourage you to watch those. And I'll tell you why. I've got them too. But here's the thing. We teach a little bit differently, and one of us might help you better than the other one because of just the way we're all wired. So if for some reason my videos aren't speaking to you, go look at his, because the goal is for you to learn it, right? We don't ultimately, we don't care which one you learn it from. I know I don't.
Yeah.
But Josh's style is different.
I think with both of our videos combined, it pretty much, because there might be like something that slips one of our minds and then the other person mentions it. And
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Eric, to your point, light burn doesn't make any difference because a vector line is a vector line. It doesn't matter what program you're using to make that line. It's your laser that is removing material when it goes around something, just like a saw does. When you cut a piece of wood, you're gonna lose the saw blade width when you're cutting something. Same thing with a laser. And so you just need to determine what your kerf is for your laser. And we can both help with that. Message Josh, look at his YouTube, message me, look at my YouTube. We're both happy to help you with that. We promise you. By the way, Josh, when you first started versus now, do you find kerf difficult now?
Not really. I mean, a little bit, depending on what it is, because I mean, there's always like different thicknesses of your wood. So if you don't measure, then it might be a little off. Like it might be tighter or it might be looser.
Right.
That's why I
but the concept, what kerf
concept isn't hard. Yeah.
Not at all. Right.
I pretty much just use minus 0.13 or 0.013 most of the time. So
okay. Yeah. 0.13. That's cool. And see, I use 0.1, but that's the kind of everybody that's the point I'm trying to make is it works for him and that's awesome. And this works for me. Somewhere in that general window is probably where you're going to end up.
Yeah. I just do it because I use a rubber tipped hammer to snap them all together real nice and tight without glue. So
yeah,
but yeah, 0.01 would work too. It's just right in that little window. That's such a minute amount. So
it really, in fact, I'm not good at math, but 0.01 is thousandths of an inch, right?
Yeah,
tens, hundreds, thousands. So when you're up to the thousands, that's small, right? I wanted to tell you real quick. Elaine says she loves Josh's cleaning video. So thank you for that, Elaine. I'm glad. Let me catch some questions here. I've been missing them. So let me catch a few of these. Let's see. Okay, so Marilyn, by the way, Marilyn, this is not a dumb question. Your question is the same as a lot of people have. Does everyone pay for the Glowforge software to use the machine? No, nobody pays for the Glowforge software to use their machine. It is free to use as a Glowforge owner. In other words, you don't need to pay for anything to operate your Glowforge. Now, if you'd like the features that come in the premium version, like being able to make text and drawing shapes and that kind of thing, you do have to pay for that. But the software to run your machine has always been free, and I'm sure it always will remain free. Josh, I don't know what the current price of. I haven't looked at the price in forever. Is it still $50 a month? I don't know what it is anymore.
I think it's $50 a month, or you can get it cheaper, like if you buy like a year's package worth of that Glowforge Premium. And I think like to use the machine too, like I would recommend using like Illustrator or Inkscape, which is free, and you can do all of those features. What I think a lot of people buy the features for is like getting the free premium catalog designs. Like I have this one on the catalog design for the little pen holder, and I know you have your
the record player poster. Yep.
Yeah. So like if you want those for free, you can do that too. So that's a benefit. I know a lot of people like that too.
Yeah, but absolutely. So that's not a dumb question. Nobody has to pay for it to be able to use that to use their Glowforge for sure.
Yeah, that's another reason why I'm glad that we're doing the live video, because there's a lot of like miscommon things like that people are unaware of. So
right. Eric asks, is your YouTube Fresh Start Customs? The answer is yes. I believe if you search for Fresh Start Customs, either 3 words or 1 word, I think you'll find it either way, I believe.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah,
yeah, I think
it should be 3 separate words usually, but I think it pops up either way. Yeah.
Yep. Somebody said, kerf still scares me, but I'll learn it. Let me and Josh just give you a big virtual hug. I promise that is not as hard as you think. Once you realize what it is, it's no big deal. It really isn't. I know at first it seems like a big deal in a lot of math. Josh, I get the impression you're good at math. I'm not. But
depends on the day, I guess.
right, and how much coffee or whatever, yeah, or how much medication I've had, for my. I was going to say suffocation, which is what's happening to me. But I'm not particularly good at math. But really, there's not a lot of math going on because, in general, let's tell you what, Josh. I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you give them a 60-second kind of tip on what kerf is and how to figure it out?
Yeah, so basically, kerf is the amount. I'll just use this puzzle piece as an example here. Kerf. So basically, the laser cuts out this design in the shape of this puzzle piece here. Kerf is the amount that your laser evaporates from the width of your laser. So your laser is going to kind of have like a angled effect going on whenever it's cutting because it has like the focal point of your laser. And it's just evaporating that edge. So my laser beam is usually that 0.013, and then half of that ends up being the 0.07.
It's like 0.005 or 0.007, yeah.
Yeah. So then when it cuts out, that's what it is cutting out on both sides. That's why you duplicate that kerf on both sides to come up with that nice tight fit that we were talking about there.
Right.
Hopefully that makes sense, but I have a better video on it that explains it a lot better.
Well, right. And I think that makes great sense. Guys, I've also got this free slot sizer. I've given away well over 10,000 of these. It's free. It's never going to cost anything, but this thing will help you figure out what your kerf is because all you got to do, I'll take this as an example here. Let me grab something off screen. By the way, Josh and I were also talking about how off screen, sometimes things are not as neat as they appear on screen. But so I've got this single layer Christmas card. And if I wanted to figure out how thick this was, if I was going to put this in a slot, like a slotted stand, for example, you can take this slot sizer here and you can just put it in each one of these holes here, each one of these slots until you find the fit that you like. And that right there is nice and tight. And that's 0.11 inches. So all you got to do is go to your software, make a slot that's 0.11 inches, and when you cut it, it'll fit just like that. That's it.
And so basically, it's the same concept right there, where it's slotting into the thing here. And then what I like to do is I like to add that same width to the edges, just so because like if it's a tall stand like this, it won't wobble.
Yeah.
So, but that's the only difference, really.
Well, that's great. So let's talk about that because I like that Josh does that. So what he's saying is, I don't have something that.
Yeah, I've got like a better example. So let's say on this popcorn holder, you would have to adjust up and down for this because it's the edge,
right,
versus the width of a slot. So you would
like
have
a closed slot, right?
Way, yeah. So
right.
That's why I do both ways each time. I know it's a lot more like time consuming, but
it's not really that bad.
Yeah.
And that's what's also cool is Josh does that. I don't, but neither one's wrong or right. It's just, well, in fact, I would actually say as a technicality, yours is more right than mine because because the laser is cutting all four sides of a rectangle. Yeah. And so kerf is happening on all four sides. And so you are accommodating for all four sides, which I think is great. I don't typically do it, but Josh is right in that respect. So either way is fine. Just do the way that gets the result that you guys want. But we would love to help you with that. I want to make sure I catch up on some more of these questions, and then let's talk about your puzzle there that you have going on. Let me see. Matt asked, "Do I have a church design?" I do. It's part of the VIP program, so that one is coming out for them probably today. We are doing a Christmas village. It is freaking awesome. Probably some of the best work we've ever done. I'm confident it's going to be one of our signature things in the future. So you'll be seeing that pretty soon for sure. Let me see. Yeah. Jan, I think you've said this more than once. I did a video earlier this year or last year, and I started singing, let's talk about kerf, baby. Let's talk about you. And there was a certain group of people that thought that was hilarious. And I think Jan was one of them for sure. Robin, you said that You love that we explained it like the width of a saw blade, because I think that's something that everybody can kind of connect with, right?
Yeah.
Now knowing that you can expand from the 01 to 013 to pinball even more closely makes more sense. Buying a rubber mallet when I go out today. Thank you, Josh. Perfect. Do you have a link for Amazon for a rubber mallet?
I did an actual video on tips to like build like 3D boxes with the rubber mallet, so it's probably on there.
That's great. That's great. Love it. Liz Rivers, good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you're here from the Laser Outpost. Danny McManus, good to see you. You're down in Georgia, if I remember right. I'm glad you like the slot sizer tool. Oh, that's cool. Nick, I think it was Nick said, I lost it in the comments here. Nick, I believe you said you wish that that lasers are like CNCs where you can tell it to cut on which side of the line you want it to cut on. And yeah, that would be cool. But as far as I know, maybe the high dollar ones do that. I'm not sure, but I know the ones we have don't do that. I wish it would. Christy, pretty much got kerf down, but I use the slot sizer every day because it saves tons of time. That's awesome. Denise, good to see you. I'm glad you got here. Late is okay. You can always watch this later on. In fact, I recommend that you guys do, because Josh is going to drop some more knowledge here, which will be really great. Oh, let's answer this question. Josh, how do your ideas start? Where do you start getting those ideas? What does your process look like?
Well, mine comes from just like functional items for the most part. If you look at like my designs, so this one that I held up earlier, this came from my wife. She wanted like all the stud earrings can be down here, the hanging ones can be here, and then actual rings or bracelets on the side. So you just find an actual purpose behind your design and then just fulfill that purpose. But then you have like silly stuff like this little plant holder that has like no actual purpose, but it just looks super cool.
It's great.
But yeah,
I think she's asking, do you start in Illustrator? Do you start drawing on a piece of paper? How do you start?
Yeah, so it depends on what it is. Like if I have to like sketch it out, I'll sketch it out. I have done that before. But a lot of times I just get the idea and then I just start making shapes in Illustrator, how I think it's going to work, and then I just manipulate those shapes from there until I get the right like idea. So lately it's been starting just from Illustrator, but when I first started out, it was definitely sketching out like an idea first and then getting a general sense. I don't have it here, but like that slot machine thing, I had to figure out how that stupid handle would work so it'd go up and down.
Yes.
And, I had that all drawn out and stuff.
Yep. I have found that when I take the time to draw on a sketch pad, and I don't do it a lot, but when I do it, I almost always get a better result. So I probably need to just train myself to do that more often. I jump into Illustrator pretty quick for the most part for me.
Yeah.
But sketching really does make me better for sure. Okay, Tanya has a good question. Can you explain how to design the puzzle pieces correctly to be able to cut? And I think, Tanya, let me know in the comments if this is what you mean. Do you mean accommodating for kerf? Is that what you're asking? Tell us more what you're asking to make sure we answer the right question there, so that we don't go the wrong direction.
Only other thing I could think of is maybe she means like to create a puzzle so that like connects the pieces properly. Like
talk about that.
So I just made a universal puzzle piece. So I started with this little tiny piece like this here, and then I just basically duplicated that on top of each other so they all connect the exact same way. If you notice, all the tabs are straight up. I made that on purpose, and we can talk about the reason for this puzzle piece here in a little bit or whenever you want to. But yeah, that's how I did it. But there's actual puzzle generators if you want like different size and different shape pieces. So if you just Google SVG puzzle generator, it'll create like a puzzle for you that will cut out, but you may have to change because it might have like duplicate lines or something like that you may need to change with that as well.
Right. So let's talk about the community project that you got going on there. I don't want to assume that everybody knows what it is, but I'm going to be jumping in on this. I'd love to have you guys do it too. Josh, introduce us to that and tell us what it is and where they can find more information.
Yeah, so this is the community project here. I'm hoping it'll be like one of the biggest Glowforge community projects that we can build here. So like I just said a second ago, I made it where all the pieces are connectable and interchangeable. So we have like the really large piece, which is where the file can be found, is on the Glowforge at Home Facebook group. So I just made that really large piece. And then you have like 4 different options. You can do like the large piece, the small piece. We recommend at least making 1 small piece too, just in case we run out of room and we need a condensed size. Then we have like the longer pieces that go sideways like this here. Actually, I think it's this piece here. And then you can also go up and down like this too. So whatever works for you. We're just having everybody send in 1 piece, just something that means something special to you.
Yeah.
And we have all sorts of cool ones coming in already. I don't know if Timothy Wright is in the comments or in the section below, but I can't see anybody in the comments.
Yeah.
But he did these 3 right here, which look really cool. They're like 3D, and one even lights up. This lights up here like that. I don't know if you can actually see that on camera, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I think I sent you photos. I don't know if you can actually share that on your screen or not.
Well, because of my computer setup we were talking
Yeah.
about right before we get I can't at the moment,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I want to. So let's back up for a second. So what Josh is asking everybody to do is go in and download these shapes for free from your group, which is right here on the screen. Just look for Glowforge at Home Facebook group. Go join that today if you haven't already. And of course, you'll be able to more easily find Josh's resources and his designs. Also, there's a pinned post at the top of the group that has this information in it. And what he's asking is, would everybody just grab a puzzle piece at your convenience and put something on it, design it in any way that's personal for you, and then send it to him. And he's going to be putting it up on the wall here and making a big community project that we all contribute to. I think it's awesome. I love it.
And then if you do want to see them closer, I've got them all individually in that group, or I made 2 videos so far of like close-up shots of them. So if you want to see that too.
Okay, so now we're all calling each other out in the comments. Victor and Nick both said, "Oh yeah, I want to do that," and Mark's saying, "Oh yeah, I want to do that." So the 3 of us have got to get off our butts and do it. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get ours in there in the next week or so if we can. Jerry says mine is in there, but it's dark and hard to see. Which one is Jerry's?
Probably this one right here.
Oh,
it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to put this all on like a 4x8 sheet. This is just a temporary holding space.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to paint it a color. So that's something that I'd like to know too, what you guys would like to see the background color being. Maybe I don't know, like a red maybe, so it pops out more, or I have no idea what to put on the background. But
well, of course, the more pieces you get, the more we won't see the background anyway. So maybe it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
In fact, hey, Tanya came back to clarify. She said, if this is on the puzzle conversation, if pieces cut separately, how do you accommodate for the kerf? Is it different since there'll be kerf on each piece? That's a great question, and I don't know what Josh's answer is to that.
Yeah, that I haven't really messed with that. Luckily, these all fit pretty tight. I use 1/4 inch material, and you don't want them to be that tight for a puzzle anyways, because you want them to break apart. The regular kerf seems to work perfect on these. Honestly, this piece was a little tight to get in because he layered
was it the paint?
He layered 1/16 inch to get the battery and everything in it.
Okay.
So it's a little tight, but it did fit. But yeah, it depends on, but basically to answer your question on what you're saying though, I'm not sure how to do it on a puzzle piece, but this thing that I showed Mark earlier, this is basically like an inlay. I think you said it's easier to see.
Yeah, it's easier there. Yep.
Yeah. So this is an inlay inside of black acrylic. So what you do is you create your center piece, and then you just you do that little
offset path
link. Well, there's a link tool. I can't remember the name of it. So whenever you go up in increments and it makes it wider or taller, you can link that linking.
Oh, right, right. Yeah.
All you got to do is link that and then add your kerf amount. So like 0.013 that I was talking about, and it'll expand it perfectly on both sides. And that's what allows me to pressure fit that in here.
And see,
So,
let me add this. That's a perfect example of there being multiple ways to get the same thing. There's two other ways to get exactly the same thing. You can do an offset path of 0.013, and that does the same thing.
yeah.
And there's no wrong way. It's whichever you prefer. So what Josh is saying, let me just repeat it. So he had that frame, right? And he took the piece that's inside and made it 0.013 larger, so that when he does that, it fits nice and tight, right?
Yeah. So let me grab that again. Let me see.
You could also do the backwards way. You could have taken the frame and made
Yeah.
the inside of the frame smaller. Either
yeah.
one would have.
Yeah. So either way. So I just find that the center piece, which would be this piece, I just made this plus that 0.013 by linking the two measurements on the sides. Right. And then that allowed it to pressure fit into this piece here. So hopefully that makes sense.
Oh, Victor said that's called proportional scale. And
there
so what you're talking about is there's a link, like it looks like a chain link, that when you click that, it makes sure that when you change a width, it also changes the height. If you unclick that, then you can change them separately, which sometimes is helpful, but in this case, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. See, you can see Victor is like the true professional. He knows the names. And mine's all self-taught. I just say that little thing right here.
Yeah, that little thing. Well, and I'll tell you what, at our conference a few months ago, Victor taught Illustrator, and I've heard such good things, and I had to miss it because I was troubleshooting other things, but I'm looking forward to having him teach some more. He is great. And by the way, I'm telling you right now, Victor, you're going to be a guest again. I'd love to have you on again. But also go join Victor's group too. Excited Adam Designs, I believe, or is it design with an S, Victor, or design? I don't remember, but definitely go join his group too. This is great. So once again, go to the Glowforge at Home Facebook group and go join that, and go to the pinned post or the featured post at the top and grab that puzzle piece. And we'd love to have you just contribute something. It'd be really cool. I'm going to be doing that too. I've got to set myself a deadline because I've got to finish a bunch of my VIP stuff this week. Next week is and Saturday and Sunday we've got the Oklahoma Hangout events. The following week is kind of a quiet week, and then the week after that, I'm going to Disney. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. So it needs to be next week for me to do it. So this is great. Josh, what else you want to share with people? Anything you want to tell them about what you got going on?
Yeah. So one other thing on this. Like I said, I was going to transfer this to that probably a 4x8 sheet, depending on how big it is. Once I transfer that, I'm actually trying to work with, trying to get a hold of them again, but there's an actual art company who may be able to put that out on public display so everybody can see it. So that'd be kind of cool. Hopefully I can get a hold of them again. They were actually the ones who featured me in a couple of the local libraries. So I'm hoping maybe they could just put it up in a local library so everybody can see it. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be very cool.
So yeah. But yeah, other than that, the only other thing I could think of is, I don't know if you want to talk about the crumb tray removal thing we were talking about.
Oh, heck yeah. Let's do that. So Josh was talking about how, in fact, maybe we should do another live later to answer the top 10 questions that we get from people. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I'll introduce this and let Josh talk about it. So what a lot of, I was going to say Glowforge owners, but it's not always Glowforge. If you are wanting to engrave something that is thicker than a half an inch on a Glowforge, you have to remove the crumb tray, and then you can put an item in that's up to 2 inches thick to engrave on it. But you've got to do something to get it up into the focal zone. Josh, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so basically, I've seen this in the past, and it comes up most often with those hammers that people do for Father's Day.
Father's Day, yeah.
So you put a hammer in there, and then you think that it looks great on the image of Glowforge whenever you have it in the UI, the user interface. And then you hit print, and then it's really stretched out. That's because it's not in that focal point of that half-inch focal point that you need to be. So to accommodate for that, let me show you an example here. So we're just going to use this thing from earlier. Let's say this is your hammer here. Yep. And if you would lay it flat on the crumb tray, then it's not in that focal point. But what you can do is use 2 layers of wood, prop it up to get into that focal point. Then it'll be the correct size and everything. So
Right.
hopefully that makes sense. But I did do a video on that showing exactly how to measure like your actual crumb tray and
Yep.
how to come up with that focal point there. So
That's
it's a pretty
really
easy
good.
process. Yeah.
So definitely check again. If you haven't, subscribe to his YouTube channel because that'll really help you a lot. Let me clarify. One of the things he's talking about is when you have the crumb tray in, above the crumb tray, if this is the crumb tray, you've got a 1/2 inch of focal distance for the laser right here above the crumb tray. And if you take the crumb tray out, the focal distance is still right here. It hasn't moved. So you take the crumb tray out, and if you have your item down here, it can't focus on that. So you've got to bring this item up into this window right here.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's what he's saying. So stack these up. Victor said he uses books and tape.
Yeah.
I've used all kinds of, I've used books. I've used all kinds of pieces of wood, of course, all kinds of crazy things. You can use anything you want. Just get it up in that focal zone.
Yeah.
So Nick says he has a ream of paper.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And like you said, and then with that focal point, because I know you had a thinner item. Here I got a flashlight here. So let's say this is your hammer here. So when you're getting into that focal point, you don't need it to be like right here. It would be just the very top edge of that hammer. So it'd be like right here would be the very start of that focal point. That's all you need in order for it to engrave, like let's say those letters right on it. So yeah, that's essentially what you need to do.
In fact, let me follow up on that again too. So I don't have a flashlight, so I'm using a stack of wood here. So if this was your item, let's say it was a block of wood, right? And you get that top part into the focal zone right there. What's going to happen is when you get it up into that focal zone, then you're going to tell it to set focus. The Glowforge is going to go boop, and it's going to find the top of that. And it's going to act as though this was maybe a 1/4 inch thick because it has a 1/4 of an inch of this item up in that window, if that makes sense. So it doesn't really care if it's 2 inches thick. It just cares where the top of that surface ends up in that window. So hopefully that makes sense. Watch Josh's video. That'll help. I've got one too, but watch his. And if for some reason his doesn't connect with you, watch mine. But between the two of us, we're going to hook you up. We'll make it happen.
That was a perfect example where one of us might forget something and the other, that just matched perfectly.
And that happens all the time with both of us. So we're just here to help you guys. We want you to succeed. Let me ask, someone said that Legos work good for that. Absolutely, because you can build them up, man.
There you go, yeah.
And who doesn't love Legos, right? That's great. Chris,
one other trick I want to share real quick with you without the crumb tray.
Yeah.
If you buy one of those small levels, they're about like this big. They're metal. What I like to do is put that on the bottom of the inside of where the lid flips open and down, and then you can level out where your material is. That way, you know it's straight.
Oh, that's great.
And then you can remove the level, and let's say you have like an oblong shape that kind of wiggles back and forth. You can put that level on top of your material where you're going to engrave, and then stack some stuff on the side that is like tipping, and it'll hold it flat. And then you know that it's perfectly flat in that engraved.
Nice.
So yeah,
I love that.
Heads up on that.
That's a great idea. Somebody asked if we're working our way. Oh, it's Brian Becker said working your way across the country. He's talking about some of our hangouts. We're going to get to Josh's area one of these days, and then we're going to have him host us. We're going to hang out with Josh there. You're in.
I'm in Ohio.
Ohio, right? Why do I keep putting you in Tennessee? I don't know why, but I don't know.
I'm the only tenant you see.
Yeah. Oh wow, that is it. Are you a dad, Josh? That is a dad joke if I ever heard one. That's fantastic.
I'm not a dad, but I'm fluent in the jokes. So.
I love it. Yeah, that is great. But Brian, you're asking if me and Will are working our way across the country. We are. So right now we're doing Oklahoma this weekend because that's where I live. And then we're working right now on some Texas dates. We haven't got anything to announce yet, but we're working on Houston and San Antonio. Our desire is to do those in the same weekend, like Houston, for example, on Saturday and San Antonio on Sunday, or vice versa. But we're working on those. And what we are looking for is user groups in different states. If you have a group of users, we'd love for you to host us. We'll come and hang out with you for a day and teach people stuff and just get to know each other. Jan, you say y'all come down to Tennessee. Maybe it's Jan I was thinking of in Tennessee. I don't know. But yeah, Brian, we are working our way across the country. We would like to go everywhere. So we're just looking for hosts, and we just got to figure out how to get ourselves there somewhat economically, because it's not free, but we're working on it. So I promise 2023, the world tour of Mark and Will Bromance World Tours, what we were talking about the other day, but we'll make that happen. Guys, make sure that you tell Josh thank you for spending time with us, because this is part of his day that I know he can do other things, but I know he enjoys getting to know people and support them. So make sure you tell him thank you. Go join his Facebook group. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel and like everything on there. Leave some comments. Those are really helpful. And give him some useful feedback if you have any. And definitely go buy some stuff from his freshstartcustoms.com. You will be glad you did. So yeah, thank you, Josh. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for
we're gonna hang up here in just a minute, but me and Josh are gonna keep talking, because I'm gonna see if we can figure out a way to do something together, he and I. So we're gonna try to figure that out too. But guys, thank you once again for coming with us. This has been great. We've had over 50 people this entire time, so it's been really great. That's great. And don't forget to go grab a puzzle piece and be part of that community as well. You can read about that there in Glowforge at home in the featured post at the top of the group.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I want this whole wall full of people.
That's going to be your background, man. It'll be great. I love it. Josh, thank you, my friend. Everybody, thank you so much. We will see you guys again soon. Josh, hang around, and I'll talk to you in just a minute. The rest of you guys, have a great day, and we'll see you in both of our groups. Talk to you later. Take care.